Okay, well, welcome. My name is Kathy Nelson. I'm the founder of the Photo Managers, and I'm excited to bring you here today and introduce you to Beverly. This is a new concept. I was just telling Beverly she's only the second pro I've interviewed. Each month I'll be doing this. I will interview a different pro person who's actually does this for a living. And last month we introduced you to Nancy McFarland for those that were here, and she's been a longtime member and does this with her husband. And then I thought, well, it'd be fun to actually introduce you to somebody who's brand new, who just started right as if you joined because you read her little bio about Beverly. She joined in March, right before the pandemic really became the official pandemic that we all certainly know about today. So I thought Beverly would be a great person for those of you who are thinking about joining and becoming a member, what's involved and what the learning curve is like. So Beverly, welcome. Thank you so much for being brave and saying yes to me when I requested.
Thank you, Kathy.
I appreciate that. And so tell us a little bit about your background though. What drew you to this, what drew you to the Photo Managers? What was your thinking process when you chose to join? And what's your background first to start?
Okay. First of all, I'm delighted to be here, Kathy, and thank you so much for you and the Photo Managers team for having me. And I want to say welcome to my peers, some of whom may be on the call. So some of you, I might call your name out, so you might be referenced there. And then I wanted to also welcome, all the people that are interested. So this is a very exciting business to get into, and it can be a very promising career for you. And I joined the Photo Managers on March the 18th, 2020. So that's right at the time that we were still trying to figure the pandemic out. And a lot of things that I read was that this was a global community. And for me, I hadn't ever, belonged to anything probably outside the bounds of Indianapolis. So I said, I need to, just dig a little deeper into this. So my business is called Finesse Inherited Photos LLC. I'm a native of Indianapolis, Indiana, and we just had the Indy 500 here. I think it was two or 3 days ago, and of course with the pandemic that was done a little bit different. We did have a winner, Tacoma Soto, so I don't have my little black and white flag, but you guys know the drill. I'm from a large family. I have my mother, who's my big supporter. Kathy just met her earlier. And then I also have my daughter, Dion, and I have 7 boomer siblings. So along with that, I'm a retired airline employee. So I have a lot of experience in cultures, cuisines, and communities around the world. I'm also a former, I'm gonna go say retired. I'm a former real estate agent. So I did very well in real estate prior to the crash of the market back in the early about 2000, 2009 or so, but then I left it to, pursue something else. And with that, I also do, I'm a recent grad at University of Indianapolis. Yay, go Greyhounds. And I'm an avid dancer for salsa dancing, and I like to do swing dancing. But my biggest prize is, guess what, you guys? I have executive privileges over my 2 wonderful grandchildren. You know what that's like. Now, how did I get interested? Now, I've always had like an interest in entrepreneur spirit, and I tend to think I'm organized. So previously, I had peeked online at NAPO. I'm going to say National Association of Professional Organizers. Right. Mm-hmm. But I decided, I didn't want to get into everybody's, indulge in everybody's treasures. I kind of wanted to leave that alone. So then at one point, there was a reference on the website about the photo organizing that really caught my eye. And a light bulb came on because I said, oh, how cool would it be, to learn about organizing photos and to help people tell their stories. So thus I started, at that time, the Photo Managers was transitioning from, I want to say, is it
Right,
Apple?
we were Apple, which was hard to say because everybody thought we were saying Apple or like the dog food, Alpo, right. But it was the Association of Personal Photo Organizers, APPO.
Right. Yeah. And the organization was transitioning, and then I saw there was a summit coming up that was going to be online. So I really got myself to start reading some of the modules, and I kept saying, oh, this is pretty cool. I'll keep, started taking my notes, and some of those were and all over the place, but I now do have a handy book to keep everything, and it's like my working manual, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But then I also, Kathy was on the videos, and there's, I want to say there was Elisa Kirch and some other people, and then, of course, the Phenomena team. Hi, Amadeus. I know you're somewhere there. And then that led up to the Phenomenal Virtual Summit. And at the summit, it was the photo manager. I didn't know anybody at that time, so it was the members, and I met. A couple of my favorites were Newbie to Guru, and that's by Lita Bunting. Then there was one.
Let me just slow you down for just a minute so people know you're talking about. So the summit was, our conference is normally in person. It was going to be in Atlanta. And we, it was shocking to me in mid-March, as like everybody, right, that this pandemic was happening, and then people started getting nervous about traveling and the whole country was starting to shut down. So we had to cancel our in-person conference. And I asked all the speakers if they'd be willing to present their conferences online. We called it a summit. And so we took the whole in-person conference of classes that we normally would do and moved it online, which we will do now always. We'll do both when people can meet together. But it was amazing because people like Beverly, you would never have traveled to Atlanta, probably last minute, as a new member. But we were able to suddenly, and so when you're talking about the Newbie to Guru, that Lita did, you're talking about a class that you were able to take on the summit.
That was a class on the summit, yeah. Right. And thank you for that, Kathy. And then there was one called Know Your Profits. That was by Caroline, and I'm going to say she's the Swedish organizer, is what I'm going to say. I also did the one for nonprofits, and it was by Amy Hoffman. So she does a lot with nonprofits. And then another one that I really liked was how to find high-end clients, and that was from Peter, and I want to say he's out in California. So right with that, I paid for the summit, I jumped right in, and then at that point, Vanessa Inherited Photos was established, and I got registered there. So that's how I got involved there.
That's great. And one thing I want to just say, so again, as people are listening, I loved your beginning about your background. You have, airline industry, right? Real estate. You just finished a degree, you just went back to school, or you just graduated, you said, from,
yes.
So if you're listening and you're wondering, who is a photo manager, what do they do? You're such a perfect example of the diversity and of people's backgrounds that they come from, everything from librarians to school teachers, nurses, photographers, right? It's pretty amazing, the variety of backgrounds that people can bring. Those skills that you have developed are what you can transfer into this kind of a business. So go ahead. I just helping other people to kind of put this together if they're thinking, oh, is this something that would work for me? So.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
So you were talking about your background, how you got interested. And then also, what have you learned today that you wish that you knew in March when you started? What's some of the things? I loved your book. You have to talk about that, but.
Yeah, I got my book here. Okay, well, let me just take a look here. I've got some notes here that are going to help me here because, as I said, it's my working manual. Now, what I wish I knew, I did not, as you can see, I do not have a photography background, nor do I have an IT background. So I was taken aback a little bit by, all the technology involved. So I started educating myself to get myself more comfortable. So that's, if you've got the background, if you're real tech savvy, or you know about photos, you're in a good place. If not, just start, looking to educate yourself. And there are a lot of resources, and I've got a couple notes on those to help you out anyway. I do want to say there are a lot of software programs out there. But the other thing I was finding too is that, like, even on my PC and Mac, they had other things, some things that I wanted to use first before I jumped in to start spending money. So I used, some of the programs on there. And another thing that I would have helped me along to know is that I did speak to Lisa Bunting and Lita. There you go, Lita Bunting. And a couple of things she said, it's always wise to create a team. So you want to surround yourself with some people. And she has a Facebook page that's called For Newbies. And also she asked us to be selective with your purchases because a lot of things can be involved. You'll say, I need this, I need that, but you do want to make sure to be selective with that. And then, of course, the big thing is to start networking. And you could start doing that by your Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, and most of those are on Zoom sessions now. I haven't participated in, but I do have a connection with like a I think it's BOI Business Opportunities in Indianapolis with some the women's network here. So for that, for me, initially Zoom was a challenge, as it was for anybody else. So once I get that platform secured, then I'm going to start reaching out to some of the other things. And something else that I wish I knew that I had known back in March was about cloud. Okay, here we go with the cloud. Okay, let me see if I can get this right. Cloud storage versus cloud security. So we always know that everything's stored up in the cloud. You know, people, oh, my photos are stored. Well, we want to make sure they're secured. And so this helped me to know that some of the companies that are out there, you may know them, you may like them, you may love them, but are they secure? They're going to be there when you really need your photos. Like, what's your photos going to look like in 2021? You know, how are you going to share those? Also, a biggie for me that I wish I had known was the terminology. So here we go. And Kathy's going to laugh on this one because I just would like to have a terminology or glossary of terms that we all use.
You know what, Beverly, what's great about this, hopefully you see this in the organization, right, is when new people join, like you've already suggested that. We will be working on that. As we know what people need, we can keep creating that for you. So you're right, the glossary of terms is an important help.
Right, so there's the term metadata, culling, duping, EHD, which is external hard drive, and then DPH, you know, there's all these industry terms and jargons. So those will be helpful. So with our newbie group, I did say I was going to start some of this terminology or glossary in. I've yet to do so, but this is going to really hold my feet to the fire. I'll get it done for you, and I'll start, everyone can add on. And then another thing that I didn't realize was that this is a vast industry with so many services and products. You know, I'm just thinking print photos and things on your phone, but there's archival things that you could do for museum archives. There's all kind of documents that you can restore. There's photo books, there's scrolling, there's wall frames. So there's just so much involved that you want to have the services and then help people with their products. So some of those things, you know, I wish I'd known early on, but now that I've, you know, been in, I think I've got 3 months under my belt, it's just coming to me, and it can be overwhelming. But here's the thing, you could just, you know, put it together, dissect it, get your manual, got mine right here. So it will just, you know, help, and revisit it. You know, I would say to revisit that like every 2 or 3 days, especially after you've taken notes. Guess what I do? When I listen to the webinars, I even put down like 5 minutes and 12 seconds so I can go back and look at that point, because otherwise I kind of think, oh, I got to listen to the whole thing. So I've got a couple techniques that are just helping me there. So that's how that's going.
One thing I want to compliment you about, Beverly, which is why I would have invited you to speak, is because right away you took a lot of initiative and you started asking questions of people. I'm sure you're going to talk in a few minutes. You've networked already with a lot of members. And so you're gonna throw out names of members I've known for years, and they're very, I think you'll agree, everybody's really warm and welcoming when you reach out to them with questions. But you also reached out to me. I have something set up on my on the photo manager's website. When you become a member, you log into the back end, and that's where all the resources are. And I call it Open Door Fridays, and anybody can schedule a call with me any Friday. And very few Fridays do I have people who have scheduled calls, but Beverly, like 2 or 3 different Fridays, I'd see on my calendar, Beverly is calling, and you were just asking me questions. And it was, I always really admired that about you. And I knew you'll be successful because you're a learner and you're spending the time gathering that, and you're actually utilizing the resources we're trying to provide for people, right? So you're
absolutely. And I love that Open Door Friday. I can tell you, I was on my way in and out of the shower. Maybe it was or wasn't a Zoom, but I can hear you. I'm thinking Kathy's going to tell me something good today. So some of those were a challenge, but I was making sure I was getting on to those. And kind of, you know, with that, because, you know, we did talk about like what has helped me, but I've got a page here on my resources here. Let me see if I can find it here, because resources. Okay. So networking with the other members, I generally just, you know, send them an email, say I've, you know, heard you on a webinar, read something you wrote. We've got a, I don't know, what do we call the forum? Describe the forum to Kathy.
Oh, the online, so we have on the back end of our website, we have what we call the forum, where we have it broken in categories. So it's searchable. So if you have a question on, I'm scanning a client's photos and I don't know what DPI, what's the best DPI, or what's the best scanner to invest in, or do I want to do scanning, that you can ask those questions there. And then we also have a private Facebook members group where people ask questions all the time as well. So I think, is that what you're thinking of, the forum? Is that what you're?
Yes, I was going to say on the forum. So I generally read something on the forum that somebody's written about, so that when I make contact with them, I have that conversation to know that, hey, you're the expert and I'm here to get some more information from you. So what I think about the forum is, and I've heard you say this before, and I really would like to get more of it, because the forum is that place where it's cataloged, it's by categories, it's by date, people comment on it, versus when it's put on Facebook, because then when it goes on Facebook, I have to remember to scroll through there, where to find it at, what day I saw it on. So we had talked about trying to make that Facebook more for congratulatory items and some of the other things, but I think it's just as long as people are communicating, because there was something the other day on there about the Fast Photo 680, and I just purchased one, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, let me read through this to, begin to better understand. So as far as the resources that have been helpful to me, I do also use the photo manager, but when you join as a photo manager, there's going to be this the hub page, but it has a lot of information on it. And one of the pages has documents on it, and you can scroll down, look and read all the documents. It's going to tell you about Business 101. It's going to, also show you about the 5 principles, which took me a while to gather these together, but finally, I'm going to say them, Kathy. You want to have a goal. You want to collect your things, which we call hunt and gather. You want to sort them out, save them, and then share them. And share them is that part we're all trying to get to, but that is that will be your big finale there. But getting to that, there's a paper on the documents, and it's called the goals. I want to say, what's it called? The goals.
Oh, the
graphics. It's called graphics.
The new member roadmap, or we have like
the graphics. One is the graphics, and there's a new member roadmap. On the new member roadmap, you really want to take a look at that. And I kind of did my things to try to put the date next to them so I could just make sure, because since I started during the pandemic, I had all this free time. And I got myself into paralysis analysis, because I'm like, okay, what about this one? I was staying up late at night just looking to try to, figure out things and read and study. But then I said, let me go back to some of my resources. So I would replay the summits. I did go to Kathy's Open Door Fridays, which is like a 15-minute one-on-one chat, and you could, maybe let her know in advance what you want to talk about. I do Partners and Peers, which is, you're really gonna love this. The partners are vendors who we have partnerships with, and they will do probably monthly seminars, webinars with us. And then you can ask questions and answers. I mean, you have questions and they'll give you answers. And then what I do, a lot of times I immediately hang up the phone and like, okay, I need to find out about this, especially the one on Collectionaire. I know Stan personally. I've called him a few times just to begin to understand how this is going to work for me and my family. I've also done the partnership with Nick's Place. I got that from my daughter for her family's anniversary, and also she tucked it away because she wanted it for her kid's birthday, to surprise her husband. So that was phenomenal. And then there's one called Archival Methods. And I bought that little sample kit because I just had to know, I had never known anything about archival. My photos were in the, regular photo frame photos. Some of them were slip-in, some were probably magnetic. And then when I learned about the archival, I'm like, this has got to be it, because you don't want to do all this work and then put your photos back and, in the same thing. I also know with like the resources we have, next month, I wrote this down, but I'll have Kathy help me with this upcoming, and I got it. Save Your Photo Month. And that's coming up in September. So that is a resource that I know that's going to be very helpful, because the last part of that graphic is to save. So is that something that we'll be able to provide with the
Right. So
new people.
what Save Your Photos Month is it's once a year, the month of September, we call it Save Your Photos Month, and you can see now why, again, as we come into September. That's usually a time when hurricanes, fires, all sorts of, disasters start to happen. And every year we do a different way of it, but it's a way to help. So our members who are looking for ways to meet clients and get their information out there, we provide the members with resources so they can teach classes and tell people how to save their photos. But we also educate the community, the public, about the importance of saving their photos. This year we're doing 40 different, we have 40 different members, pros, that are doing a series of classes following those 5 steps that Beverly just mentioned, and it starts September 1st. If you go to saveyourphotos.org, you can sign up for any of those classes. They're all free. But that's the way that we're giving it back to the public, but also as a member, Beverly will be able to promote that on her Facebook page. And because you're looking for clients at some point who maybe will say, you know what, most people eventually, they think they're going to organize their own and manage their own family photo collection, and then they start and they get completely overwhelmed, right? Because it's a pretty daunting process. And then they're looking maybe to hire help. And so this is a way to help Beverly and all our members promote themselves as professionals, and then also so to potentially meet new clients. So it's a kind of a win-win opportunity that we do every September.
Right. You just mentioned something about, helping members find clients. So for me, initially, I was thinking with my mother, and then I have 7 boomer siblings. Believe it or not, you guys, we have 7, and we all had tons of print photos. So I was kind of thinking, oh, let me make sure I get something done for the family here, as I'm organizing my business. So that I was thinking the print photo was going to be my niche. But then as I was reading further on, I started hearing and learning the facts that digital photos are far more at risk of being destroyed, than the print photos. So as Kathy says, there can be disasters. Sometimes you say if the house melts, if it's a tornado, like you got the fires in California, and those things happen. So in a lot of ways, a digital photo. So I'm still kind of teetering in between there, but I'm, taking my opportunity to learn both. As far as kind of my ideal client, how do I find them? A lot has been a word of mouth, which, always works fine. You can always know that there's people who are recent empty nesters, somebody that's celebrating a milestone birthday type, or even, seniors that want to tell your stories. And in a lot of ways, with my mom being a senior, I got that collectionnaire just to kind of help, her be able to talk about and tell the stories of the pictures there. And
I think when we first talked to you, you had I don't know if it was a colleague, a friend who owned maybe a museum, or was a nonprofit, right? And they were looking to have their photo collection scanned.
Right.
Am I remembering that correctly? Okay.
So that was leading into that, and this is what my next thing's going to lead into. You're good. Well, I remember at the summit there was Amy Hoffman who did a segment on nonprofit summit webinar. So I thought, oh, that'd be a good place to, get some people, some clients, because nonprofits just have, to me, they just have tons of photos they've taken over the years. And then you can also do that, but in the meantime, you can get some of their, the board members to be your clients. So depending how that project works out for you, if you're doing a nonprofit, most of them already have funding or a way to get funding. So that's kind of a nice little start there for you. But what she was saying is that you want to try to get people that are already using client services. Like they always have like personal trainers, they have a personal shopper. Some of them have, dog walkers, and they do these things on a regular basis. And those people focus on, preserving the photos and not so much on the money. But it's a way to try to, go after a certain client base. As far as what Kathy was mentioning about my nonprofit, I have a sister-in-law who's in Ohio. And I'm building a business relationship with her because she has 35 photo albums that she needs to have digitized. Well, when I did my little interview with her, there's information on the photo manager's website that tells you, how to do the client questionnaire, and you kind of tweak that for yourself. So that was real nice and real cool. And then she threw out something to me. She said, "Oh, guess what? And I want those put on CDs." And I'm like, CDs, I wrote it down, but then I didn't know at that time, I didn't know enough to say to her, well, instead of CDs, let's do something else. So I just kind of wrote it down, knowing that, and so I called Kathy, and I'm in a hurry, and said, okay, she's talking about CDs. What do I do? How do I redirect this, to make sure that I'm giving her, the best service. So that in itself has had some stops and starts with it. Right now, the one thing that didn't happen, well, let me put it this way. She's got a grant. She has to have it done by the end of the year. So that's all she kept saying, the end of the year. So she didn't give me a deadline. She didn't give me a date. I tried to make a couple soft deadlines just so I can get myself going and to find out to have something to do. And a lot of times with the pandemic, I was kind of slowed down because she's in Ohio. Then I had to figure out, oh my gosh, do I go pick these up? Do I store them in my garage for a few days? Is she gonna trust me to do that? I just had a lot of questions and concerns there as to what might happen. So with that being in mind, her company has since changed management. So we got slowed down just a little bit, but I still have talked to her about the priorities and what she wants to do and what would really work for her, and we'll just do it in chunks. At first, initially, when I interviewed her, guess what? I made these packages for her. And you guys listen to this. I made like a prestige package. I made a supreme package and a luxury package, and I just put everything in there. I didn't really know what to do for a price. So I gave her some, like this many photos and up. Like I think she's probably got 20, I don't know. She's got 35 albums. They got 400 pictures in them. So I gave her a couple prices, and then I said something like, okay, we can be able to do some of these a la carte. What she wanted was a price. She just wanted a price. She said, okay, that's fine. I said, okay, then let's start, moving ahead, working on it. But I didn't know where to go, what to do. So then when I called to get my help, called my gurus in, there's a measurement that's, and I'm going to say this, and you help me out with this, Kathy. There's 1 inch of photos. The 4x6 is like 100 photos.
Yep.
And there's some other numbers that you'll learn as we go. So now with this project, it's taken a little twist and turn, but I'm staying with it. And here's the other thing. I really have to keep in touch with her. So for me, what I usually say to her, here's where I'm at now. I need to know what your priorities are. And I say, if I haven't heard from you by Thursday or Friday or next week, things sometimes get overlooked. Guess what? I'll get back with you. So that's kind of been the way to keep our relationship. But this is her, she's taken all the photos over 20 years. So they're near and dear to her, but since she already has them, she's not really in a big hurry. Right. So I just need to go out and give her another soft deadline to say, hey, I'll come over. And, another good thing I'll do, because this is a big project. I don't even know who that is. Maybe Adam or somebody, Adam Pratt, who's a guru, or I'm not sure if it's Christy, who's my coach. She said,
Pero hay otro ahí. Acabo de abrir y había uno. Pero ¿dónde lo cogió, Odín? Fuera.
Okay, I muted her. Sorry, somebody jumped in there. I don't know how that happened.
Okay, what I was saying is either, I don't know if it's Adam, it may be Chris or somebody, I've talked to so many people. They said maybe just do 3 or 4 albums for her to make sure that's what she wants to do, rather than just trying to do all 35 at one time, and then you get to the end and guess what, that's not what she expected. So that's going to be,
not to just because it's like it's 1:30 now, so it's a half hour. So folks, Beverly, what you described so well in all these little pieces is really what it feels like to be a brand new member in some ways, right? You've got
Absolutely.
A potential client out there that you're trying to, so these are the things that we hear lots of times from our new members too, like how do I get a client who said they're really interested, everybody wants help, and then how do I get them to go from interest to actually doing it? How do I, and you, like I mentioned early on, you've been great in in figuring out solutions to these issues. And then obviously I can see your sales background, probably in real estate too, knowing enough that you follow up with people and you give them deadlines, and the fact that you've reached out to others. So I did put in here a note that if you have questions, go ahead and type it in the chat and we can answer your questions here. I don't see any questions yet. It's a quiet group. But if you have any questions that you want to ask myself or Beverly about membership, go ahead and type them in the chat and I'll ask Beverly. And if not, we'll, I'm just looking at my list of, I'd kind of given Beverly a list of questions. What are the skills? Here's one that I think is a good one for people. Again, you're listening, you're thinking, is this for me? What are some of the skills that you have from your past work experiences that you're finding helpful? I'm kind of highlighting what I already see in you that's making this work.
Oh.
But what are some of the skills that you feel like you're drawing on from your past experience?
Well, a lot of it is like my real estate background. Well, I was customer service at US Airways for years, but then also it just helped me when I was doing real estate. For one time I was in real estate, wheeling people around, but then I just, started, to build the skill base. I also learned from another organization I was in to eat the frog. So if there's something that you really are dreading to do, just, go ahead and do that quickly and get it out of the way.
Say that word. Is it eat the frog or frog?
Frog.
Eat the frog. That's great. I love that. Yeah,
Eat
don't
the
put off.
frog. Just do it quickly that day, get it out of the way, get it over with. Also, another thing you really have to do is build trust, because you are going to be going through people's intimate information, sensitive information. Some people are going to be grieving over photos. They just don't know what they are going to find as they go through them. So you really have to, build their trust before you earn their business. And
photos are, we called ourselves the Association of Personal Photo Organizers. That was always a real deliberate initial name, was because photos are personal, right? So when you're working, somebody said, how long does it take to earn the professional photo manager certification? So the certification just is, I don't know if Beverly, if you've started that yet, it's 5 classes, right, that you go through at your own pace. It's not, doesn't take a long time. What takes the longest is to become certified, you have to document that you've worked with a client, and you show us the process of working with the client, that we ask you to kind of put those best practices you learn in certification into application. And then when you apply, you send in your application, you're documenting that client. We contact that client for a reference. So it can take a short period of time for some people if they have a client right away, or it takes some people longer if it's because we don't want it to be a family member. We want it to be a paid client. And so it can take some people 6 months, a year before they actually can send us that in. I don't know if you're finding that yourself, Beverly, but that's just, my experience.
Right. And I would, and the certification information is on that roadmap. So consider starting that early, because as you do, there are so many techniques, and there's just a lot of guidance there that will help you along the way. And some of your questions will be answered there. It could possibly raise some questions, but I'm in a certification process. I didn't start it initially, but something happened. I went back and reread my roadmap. I'm like, aha, this is a good place to be. So yes.
Yeah. And then Tess also asked again, do most people work locally, or do they accept clients from everywhere and rely on mailing physical items? That's a great question, Tess. I'm going to tell you from my experience, and I'll have Beverly just share what she's learned, is at this point, I still think many of our clients probably work like maybe 70% of our members might work locally, but a growing number can work all over the world, because one is if you're doing digital photo organizing, you can do that remotely. You just need to have the ability to log into somebody else's computer. We have members who only do remote digital photo organizing very successfully. But we also have members that that clients will ship their photos to. Again, Beverly mentioned Adam, but he'll talk about, I think he's even gotten shipped photos from England. I think he's done a project from internationally. We also have international members. And then, so there is a process if you're going to have clients mail you photos. We'll talk, we guide our members through that too, about inventory, making sure the client takes photographs and documents what they're mailing, make sure that they use like Federal Express, or, that there's a signature basis for you to make sure that, there's proof that you received them. When you receive those photos, take photos of them, also do an inventory, send it back to the client. So there's ways to protect yourself and your client, because the last thing anybody wants to do is lose anybody's photos. But another thing our members are talking about a lot too is meeting people in parking lots with masks on and handing off boxes of photos. That seems to be a new way that it's happening in COVID. So that's my answer to the question. Beverly, would you share anything else about the local or clients anywhere and mailing of photos?
Well, my client that I do have, which is my sister-in-law, she's over in Ohio. So I'm going to need to drive there. And I did propose to her that if possible, I can work on site, because she works in a nonprofit, just get me a room and secure it and lock everything up there, because I didn't necessarily want to have to bring everything back here. And so then there was kind of the question like, oh my gosh, do I charge her for travel time? Well, not until she's the customer. I'm a client. Right now she's a customer, and then when I get her under contract, she'll be a client. But I go to Cincinnati anyway, just want to make it convenient for both of us, so that I can get it done. And then what Kathy was saying about global, now, we said we're a global community. Okay, so there's people, we've got members who are in Australia, Canada, there's a Swedish organizer, and then there's a couple girls in England, and I've just kind of met them through the summits. But for working remotely, that seemed to, there was even at the summit, there was a webinar on that, and there's been several ones. So I think the people that are doing it remotely really know what they're doing. And Kathy, I'm so glad you pointed that out about, the process of getting photos mailed to you. And so the other thing I was going to say, a lot of people use like other businesses, but you send them an unorganized mess, guess what? That's what you're going to get back. But you send it to us, we are going to take care of it for you. It'll be organized, and then you'll have your digital files organized coming back. And
Cass also asked another question. Beverly, did you start with the quarterly membership or annual? I'm not sure she wants to commit to the cost of annual. I don't know the answer to that for you.
Well, okay, here's what I did. I started with the quarterly, because I wanted to attend that summit. So it was right there at that same time where I was trying to figure out my finances and things that I needed to do. I got the same service, as if I did either one. So that, and then it just kind of kept me going to know that, yeah, I'm good with this, I'm good. So yes, so I started that way just because there were other things, the summit was coming up and I just knew I had to.
Are you still quarterly, or did you upgrade to annual?
I've been doing, I think I've got one more quarter to do. So
okay.
I don't know.
That's the option too, Tess. We did that so that you, for members like yourself that are, unsure, dip your toe in the water. So the good news is you can, if you join quarterly and you decide I'm in, I want to save a little bit of money by going with the annual membership, then you just send the email, and I think we even send you an email saying at the 3-month, if you want to upgrade to the annual, you can still do that. So that's Beverly's response. So she's quarterly, and you can switch to become annual at any point. But it makes sense if you're, from a budget perspective and things, if you want to make sure. Mm-hmm. And then, so Lucia says, can you talk a bit about the contract with the client? How do you approach this after the initial contract and pricing reveal? This is a really great question, Lucia. And again, Beverly, I hate to jump in on you, but I'm going to these a little bit. And then we just had a great, once a month we do a networking meeting. It was called Onboarding Clients, which was this whole topic about this, and that's part of the certification as well. Is we have learned from many years of experience that getting the client from yes, and then what happens between you get this job, whether it's, let's just say it's scanning 25 photo albums or whatever. Whether you're scanning it yourself or you're using one of our really trusted partners who, because we talk about the importance of outsourcing the work, that you don't have to do everything yourself. You can outsource it to partners. And then from that process to returning it to the client, it's going to be really important that you stay in continual contact with your client through either, today it's, when I did it was different than this, but now it seems to be text messaging, but having a system in place where you're staying in touch with your client. So, and the contract, many of our members talk about this all the time. We have sample contracts available on our website, but you can create your own contract, whether you do a you know, an upfront payment and then a quarterly payments, or, you know, half down and, you know, the other half on completion. You just want to make sure that you have clear expectations spelled out that the client agrees with. And the biggest mistake that new members make, which we've all made, you know, is that anxiety around asking somebody to actually commit and then getting money from them, especially if it's a friend. It can be very overwhelming. So we do a lot of coaching on the importance of doing that, of making sure that you understand your value. You listen to what Beverly's talking about, the amount of time she's put in since March. Here we are, what is it, August? So what's 5 months, maybe? May, June, July, August. When you're charging the fee that you deserve to charge, you're charging because you've put all this time in understanding. Like, you now know you don't want to burn a CD of photos. You know what an external hard drive is. You know, well, you're compensating yourself for that knowledge that your customer hasn't taken the time to educate themselves about, because it's overwhelming, frankly, and most people are overwhelmed. So hopefully, Lucia, that answered your question. Again, Beverly, I'll turn it back over to you. So that the initial contact, you review the pricing, and then I think she's asking the next step.
Right. Okay. Well, for me, what I said to my, and I had two customers. I had my daughter who was not paying, but then I had my sister-in-law. So what I would do, I would send everything to my daughter first and say, hey, what does this sound like? What do you think about this? And she would pretty much critique it for me, just so that I stayed on a professional level. So as far as the contract, I did send a couple things to her. I sent a memorandum of understanding, because I wasn't really clear on myself, like what should happen. And we had changed some things, but then when we came to the contract part, I did send away to, I'm going to say Peter and Chrissy, and a couple people sent me ideas of what they used as a contract. Now this was going to be, since this is my first client, I really was looking to do paralysis by analysis and really get this right. But it just, came out to favor where I was able to present something to her that was satisfactory. And
I like that, that word memorandum of understanding is a great word as well, because if you use that, the word contract can feel a little overwhelming to some people, but a memorandum of understanding is, you are agreeing to give me, 5 boxes of photos, 3 old phones, blah, blah, blah. And I'm agreeing to do this. And then let's revisit this. That's that critical piece of the communication that you want to make sure you keep with your client. You keep them up to speed about what you're doing, where the project is. And again, that we talk a lot about that in certification, which is why certification was different actually for many years. This is brand new since January, certification that we now have. And it was based on all these years of experience and learning what it is that the goal of certification is to make sure that you feel really qualified to present yourself as a certified pro, and that the client knows what they're getting. And it's really making sure that all those pieces are in place for you. So hopefully that helps you understand that. And that's also why we used to have everybody listed on our website, but we, as of April 1st, when we had our new website, we only list certified photo organizers and managers to be contacted by consumers, because again, we're raising the credibility of this profession. We were just in the New York Times on Sunday. I didn't realize it was actually in the written New York Times as well. The home section, have you seen that, Beverly? Yeah.
No.
Oh, it was a great article on getting your digital. It's time to get your digital photos organized. They called us a global community. I was highlighted, the photo managers. And then there were other companies as well. I actually know all the other companies, but it was a great article. Again, that's a significant, visibility. And we know that as more and more consumers look to hire a photo manager, we want to make sure that the level of expertise is very high, so that you're going to be able to charge a really good fee for your services, and that people are confident that they're getting somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's the reason behind also only having certified professionals now listed on the website as part of customers being able to find you through our website. So hopefully that answered that.
And I know we're coming to a close, but I do want to put your book up here. This is where I started at too. It's Photo Organizing Made Easy, and this is Kathy's book here. And then I want to show you guys something else. I also got my white glove, so I'm just ready. I got my white glove, and I read this when it was even under the APPO to have your white glove with the white glove service, you know, just to make sure that when you're picking up those photos or they're the client's collections. And I did learn that word because at first I was calling it items and things and their stuff, but it is their own private collection. So that's one of the other terminology words that helped me to, you know, professionally communicate there.
That's great. Well, Beverly, this has been awesome. Any additional questions for Beverly? Or thank you, Lucia and Tess. These are great questions that you're asking as well. Again, we'll do this every month. The goal of this is to introduce you to different, what we call pros from, like I said, last month, Nancy was, you know, very experienced, been doing it a long time. And then Beverly's newer and finding her way through the pandemic. And again, you know, what's great is the goal of the photo managers is for us to give you resources so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So a lot of what we have, right? And
exactly.
Yeah, it's and then we take advice from our members, like, oh, we could use a glossary of terms. Oh, okay, let's work on getting that together so that we can include a glossary of terms and things that we don't realize. And we have many members who've been doing this for decades at this point. So that again are, you know, great resources and can answer questions and things through our forum and our Facebook page. And so if you're interested in joining, we'd love to have you again, quarterly, annually. And right now, until September 1st, if you join, you get the 3 classes. It's funny that you mentioned you mentioned 2 of them. We do the newbie class, the profitability class with Carolyn, and then the third one we do is printed photo organizing, I think. Is normally those would be $99 to be able to repurchase those classes. We give those to you for free. And then in September, that is a good deal, right? That is really good. That
is really good.
In September, we have a new special that we'll come out with that is, we're just changing it up. But we're just trying to reward people for joining, especially at this time. And so, thank you so much, Beverly. Any other final words of wisdom for us?
Oh, just that, you know, I do, you know, want to share that this is a very rewarding career. I was overwhelmed, and I have been a lot, but kind of slow myself down, read my notes, and just kind of rethink, breathe, and just keep things going. But it's just really, really important that people feel like they have their photo mess, but everybody has a big photo mess. I think I want to believe Adam has the name of his is chaos. Is it chaos to chaos?
Photos to chaos, I think.
Yeah, photos to chaos. So people's things are chaotic. And one important thing here, listen to this. And I heard people say this at first, and I'm like, really? When you've seen one photo organizing job, guess what? You've seen one.
Yes, this is true.
when you've seen one. But I want to thank everybody, and I'll see you in Save Your Photo Month.
Yes, and one more. Oh, Judy, here we go. People are saying great job. I apologize, already addressed, but can you say what is a reasonable or common rate to charge? Again, that's going to be, we talk about that a lot, but I'll just give you the quick answer to that right now. Research what is a service fee in your area where you live in the country. It's going to vary where you live, even within your state. Connecticut, you know, there's just two Connecticut's. There's the rich Fairfield County, which is near New York's Connecticut, and then there's where I live. But what does a bookkeeper charge? What does a massage therapist charge? What is any professional fee services I'm going to guess they're going to range anywhere from $55 to $150 an hour. It's going to be kind of that range. And you're going to set yourself as the fee that a professional in your community charges. And then from there, we'll talk about, we do a lot about packaging and whether you do pricing and packaging, but that's something we can't address here, but that is a common question and nothing that hasn't been well addressed and one that people are always trying to think about. Pat says, Beverly, I love your energy. Congrats and good luck. Jody said, thank you. Reminded me to slow down and take my time. Oh, do you know Joy?
Yeah, I know Jody. Jody's on the call. Oh, Jody's from Indiana. Oh my God. She's my resource. I've even pulled over to the side of the road to take her phone call when she's called me back. So thank you, Jody. Yay.
Yes, Jody's great. Great. People are saying thank you. Thanks for sharing. All right, everybody. Thank you, Beverly. Have a great, safe day. Everybody stay safe. And thank you again. And Jody says you're more than welcome. She's still there. So she saw that. So good. I'm glad, Jody, you stayed on. Thank you. Jody's been a member for many years. She's one of our masterclass graduates, very experienced. So she's here supporting you, Beverly, right? I mean, that shows you what kind of, have you guys met physically yet? Have you even seen each other yet? Probably not, right?
No, I think I've tried to get on Remo, and guess what? One time I wasn't on Remo, but she met Chris and told Chris, "Hey, Beverly's going to be calling you." So when I called Chris, he was ready. So I love it. I
Oh, that's
love.
good. Yeah, it is a great community of
Right.
members that all get to know each other, even though they've not all met each other. So,
Right.
so thank you so much. SaveYourPhotos.org. If you all want to take some great classes taught by over 40 of our professionals, you can register. They're free. They start September 1st, and we'll hopefully see you again or see you in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank